Welcome to Keep Trucking Personal. I'm Tyler Kivi, a third-generation trucker, and my purpose is simple: to make sure the definition of trucking doesn't get lost in the culture this industry is drifting toward. This podcast is about real stories, the hard lessons, and the standards that built this business long before apps and algorithms. If you believe trucking is more than freight and its responsibility, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. Welcome to Keep Trucking Personal. My name is Tyler and I'm your host. Today I have a guest and his name is Brandon Fowler, and he has been with Kivi Bros for 2 months, and I'm excited to hear his story and his journey, how he got into trucking and then where he's at now and how he's trying to help other drivers. And so Brandon, welcome.
Hey Tyler, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what you do in the trucking community. But before we get there, tell me a little bit about how you got into driving and just what it took to get you here.
So in my early 20s, jumping around from job to job, not really knowing exactly what I wanted to do, I decided I'm going to give truck driving a call, because who doesn't like seeing the big trucks on the highway? And heard it was great money and got to go and see all these amazing places. So I decided to pursue that. And I've been in it now 9 or 10 years, and I just keep trucking.
Did you have any family or anyone that's been in your family in trucking before?
As far as I'm aware, I am a first-generation truck driver.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's not the most common path. Usually it's somebody in family or a cousin or uncle, or even at that point, a good friend that recommends it. So it's pretty bold to just go out on a limb and do it.
Yeah, nobody should be afraid to try something new, even if you're the first person to ever try it.
100% agree. And like you said, it can be very lucrative. It's a great career and has opportunity for growth. And then you couple that with getting to see the country, and it makes sense for a lot of drivers why they enjoy it. And I think we'll get to the other side of it, what driving can challenge drivers with and how you're trying to impact that. Before we get there, still, we'll keep that as a teaser. Tell me more of just when you started to get into driving, how you went through school or how you got your Class A.
So I was working at a trailer repair facility that had a contract with FedEx Ground, and I had to go on site and pre-trip trailers every day, and any trailers that needed work on them, I would red tag them, and somebody from the shop at some point in that day or next couple of days would come by and grab the trailer to fix it. So I interacted with a lot of truck drivers while I was there, and befriended a truck driver, and the more we just got to talking, he would ask me, have you ever thought about driving a truck? And I was like, well, I never really thought about it, but I'd give it a shot. And truck driving school's not cheap, so I was really wondering how I would go through that whole process to get my CDL. So he actually contacted his contractor and got me in touch with him, and he told me about NC Works, which is basically a state-funded program with North Carolina that helps people get into whichever work field they're trying to get into. So I went through that process. They put me through school. They paid for everything. The best part about it was I was not under a contract with any particular company. Typically, when you do that, a company will just walk all over you until you get your contract paid off. So I was very fortunate to have gone the route that I did and meet the people that I did to get me where I am today. So that was how I got into this industry.
And so they paid for the whole schooling?
Yeah, the state of North Carolina paid for my entire CDL schooling.
And so is that something that it's still active today, that type of process? Because I know I talk to a lot of drivers and they're having to finance or have cash out of pocket in order to get their license.
As far as I'm aware, it is a still active program, and I know other states have similar programs like that as well. And there's this big, big push to get more truck drivers in the industry. However anybody wants to feel about a truck shortage or not, there's still a big push to get more people into it. I do remember that the federal government was actually going to implement lowering interstate age to 18. So people coming right out of high school at the age of 18 could go and apply and go to school to get their CDL and travel over the road. So there's a big push to get more drivers out on the road. So I would assume, if not all the states, a good majority of them still have this program available to anybody that wants to take it.
And so just a little bit of research, put in the homework, and you can find maybe some grants or ways to get that almost free, if not free, without a contract.
Yeah, I do remember that when I went through the program, I had to do like an aptitude test, basically showing that I knew how to read and count numbers and stuff like that. And I scored high enough to go through the trucking program. So there is a test involved, but it's nothing big deal.
And so then your first driving job right out of school, what was it and what'd you do?
So the contractor that told me about NC Works hired me pretty much on the spot as soon as I got my CDL. So you can go straight into FedEx to gain experience. They do have a new driver training program. All contractors are eligible for it. So he just hired me on, threw me in a truck. He trained me for a little bit. Then he put me with another driver that trained me for the amount of time that I needed to make FedEx happy. And then after that, I got put on my set dedicated run, which was from Kernersville, North Carolina to Livingston, Alabama every day. So it was a team operation.
So you got some miles real fast when you're in that type of
Yeah.
spot. I've talked to a few drivers that, started out as a team. It seems like kind of a process for maybe a few companies where they pair you up in a team application and good and bad. But the good is you get to pile on a bunch of miles really fast and build that experience in a short duration of time.
Yes. I did not enjoy it, especially being new to it. It
Yeah.
scared the crap out of me. I would have nightmares where I was trying to slow the truck down because I felt it in my sleep and I wasn't used to moving while sleeping. So I would like stomp my foot on the side of the wall of the truck trying to hit the brake in my sleep. But it took me a little while to get over that. Now it's just like I can't even sleep most of the time unless I'm in a truck.
Right. Yeah, I believe it. I mean, it takes a little bit of trust too. It's not just habit. It takes trust to know who you're with and do you trust them when you're going down the road?
Oh man, the trust is the biggest factor.
And then so tell us about your journey into flatbed, and because that's where you're doing now, application open deck. Tell us how you got into that.
So, as everybody's heard, I started at FedEx. That's 53-foot box trucks and hauling doubles. I left that and went into dry van completely. I left that and got into refrigerated freight. So, I was going through all the different commodities and everything, seeing what I really liked. And I really like the idea of flatbed just because of all the neat things that these flatbed drivers get to haul around. So I started several years ago looking for companies that would hire somebody that didn't have any flatbed experience but had plenty of driving experience. That led me to Central Oregon Truck Company back before the Canadians bought them. And they had a good training program. I will say this, Kivi Brothers training program was incredible. Sean in the orientation room is awesome.
For sure.
So
I hear that a lot too. I agree. I mean, he's very knowledgeable and in depth.
very. I've got like 9 or 10 years of driving experience, and I got roughly about an entire year's worth of flatbed experience under my belt right now. And I learned a whole lot in that orientation class, but I started with Central Oregon. And if anybody knows anything about Central Oregon, they tarp everything. And at the time that I did that, my health was nowhere near as good as it is now. And those tarping jobs absolutely killed me. So I probably only lasted anywhere from 4 to 6 months before I was like, I can't do this. It's a lot harder than I thought it was. So I let it go and I kicked myself in the butt for so long because I let it get the best of me without trying to work through it. So,
Well, and I think that's probably what leads into the next part here. But so
yeah.
tell us, before you tell us how you fixed that, tell us what your position was like. Was it hard just you get gassed out, or were you have high blood pressure, or what were the factors?
Well, I've actually never had I've had my blood pressure checked, but I've never really monitored it. However, I was probably at that time 300 or plus pounds. So yeah, I'm 5'7", 300 pounds. That's pretty stubby. and having to climb up on the deck and pull this 100-pound tarp around and just the heat. I went there at the worst time because it was in the dead of summer and the heat was killing me, which there's a lot of aspects to heat and sun exposure when you're unhealthy. If you're out in the sun in general, that's going to wear you out anyway. So the state that I was in, the weight that I was at, no exercise whatsoever, bad diet, everything about it was just not right. So that's when I really first realized I am so out of shape. I've seen flatbed drivers that are pretty big people, but they've been doing it for so long that their body's used to it. If you're getting into it and you're like I was, you might throw in the towel just because it's too much for your body to handle.
And so that kind of leads us into the biggest point and topic, the impact that you're having with other drivers now. So what led you to become the highway health coach? And that coinage is on your social media, business cards I've seen. How did you come up with the name? How did you get into that?
So I've actually been doing this for about 6 years or so without actually knowing that I was health coaching. And a guy who is a health coach found me and told me about health coaches. Like, hey, have you ever thought about being a health coach? And I was like, I didn't even know that was a thing. So he told me about where he went to get his certification and everything. So I looked into it and I immediately jumped on board with it. It's a year-long course and I finished it in like 4 months. So,
well, that's impressive.
Yeah. I mean, I nerd out on this stuff so much that I already knew a lot of it. So it was very easy to fast track.
Yep.
So I did that. And in the course, when you finish it, they talk about the business aspect. Like if you don't want to go work for a company and you want to start your own health coaching business, what's your niche? What are you going to call your business and all this other stuff? So I really started thinking about it. And, I realized there's not a whole lot of coaches, whether it's workout coaches or health coaches with nutrition or whatever, that focus on the trucking industry. It's like if you're not in the trucking industry, you don't know anything about trucking. So I know that there's a few people out there that coach for the trucking industry, but they're not truck drivers. So the guy that told me about health coaching, we've ended up becoming really good friends, and he came up with the name the Highway Health Coach because I was trying to think of something. He's like, why don't you just go with the Highway Health Coach? And I was like, you know what? That sounds really good. So I just went with it and ran with it. And I decided, since nobody's focusing on us as truck drivers, you go to a truck stop, just one truck stop, you're going to know exactly why truck drivers need health coaches. So I was like, my niche is going to be the trucking industry. Anybody that drives a truck, anybody that travels for work, office staff, dock workers. If it's in the trucking industry, I want to be a part of it.
Yeah, the name fits the job, right? Like it explains what you do in 2 seconds in a sense.
Yeah.
And so now that you're in this role, you've changed personally yourself by following these tips, right? Like are you a living, breathing example of what you're coaching, right?
I am. Me personally, I follow a ketogenic diet. I do carnivore mainly just because I'm not big on fruits. I never have been my entire life. And I'm 34 years old. In those 34 years, I've rarely eaten vegetables. So carnivore just spoke to me. It was perfect. It fit everything. All I had to do was get rid of all the sugar and all the processed stuff, like the microwave foods, the prepared foods, and stay out of the truck stops with all their foods. So, I mean, it was so easy, and I went with it, and I've been with it for 6 or 7 years now.
Well, and I saw a video that you had posted online, and you kind of gave a tour of your freezers and the food that you keep. And so, to your point, it was full of meats and variety of meats and ways to have different types of steak or ground beef or whatever you had, what way do you usually cook it? Do you have a grill or do you pressure cooker? How do you do everything in the truck?
So when I first went carnivore, I actually used a toaster oven, which it worked, but it was just so inconvenient. So then I went and bought a convection oven, microwave, air fryer combo deal. And I used that for a while, and that was really good. But those things are so big, bulky, and clunky, I just had to get rid of those two. Plus, I don't use a microwave either. So that was around the time when air fryers were starting to come out and getting really, really popular. So for the past 4 or 5 years, I've used pretty much exclusively just a simple air fryer. I mean, you can get one that's real cheap from Walmart for 20, $30, maybe, or you can go as expensive as you want to with all the bells and whistles that you want, but it really doesn't take anything more than an air fryer because you can cook so many things in an air fryer.
And so then without microwaving, you just cook every night? You don't do like a meal prep, or what's the process to stay consistent?
So my meal prep consists of taking whatever selection of meat I want out of a freezer, throwing it in the truck fridge to thaw. By the time I'm ready for my 30-minute break, I just throw it in the air fryer, even if it's thawed or not. I just throw it in the air fryer, cook it up, and that's it. I can cook, eat, and still have like 10, 15 minutes left over to do whatever else I need. As far as meal prep goes, I do have an egg cooker, so I'll make like hard-boiled eggs, and I meal prep those. I keep those in a container in the refrigerator. So I'll have some steak with maybe 3 or 4 eggs, maybe some cheese if I'm feeling like it. That's pretty much all I eat. As far as ground beef goes, I still cook ground beef in the air fryer, but I cook it like a meatloaf.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. I'll get some links when we put this podcast out that people can go to your social media and watch that video of your freezers and the volume of meat you have in there, which honestly is more meat than I have at home. I was pretty impressed how much you had, and you could definitely go for not just a couple days, a couple weeks, if not longer, without
Dude, one of those
questioning.
freezers lasts me like a month to a month and a half. So now that I have 2 that are fully stocked, I'm looking at 3 months worth of food.
Yeah, it was impressive, and I think it's a good example for drivers as they're considering the journey. I mean, the hardest thing to cut out is the truck stop food and getting to that consistency where you're like, okay, today I'm not feeling it, I'm going to eat here, but to get back on the horse and stay consistent. And so when you were larger and now you're in a healthier position, what's the hardest part of staying disciplined and doing it where you don't crumble when you walk into a truck stop and something looks good and you're like, man, I could just grab that right now, instead saying no, the discipline?
That's a really good point because I'm also certified in carb and sugar addiction. And when I was taking that course, I realized myself that I am a high sugar carb addict. Like I love my breads, I love my sugars, and I love the convenience of walking into a truck stop and just grabbing a bag of chips, candy bar, some kind of sugary drink that I know is going to taste good. But what people don't realize is there's a dopamine reaction to whatever it is hitting your tongue. Plus, a lot of these foods are made in a way where they're highly ultra palatable. So they're made to make you want more. And that all of that just hits the dopamine receptors in the brain. It is the exact same reaction that a drug addict or an alcoholic has. They actually use sugar and carb addiction coaching in line with alcohol and drug abuse counseling because it's the same reactors. So
It's crazy to think, ain't it?
It really is. But for me, learning that's one of those things where it really takes a community. So having somebody to talk to, hello, I'm a coach. I'm struggling with this. How can I do that? For me, it was I would just have to walk through the truck stop, because you got to walk through the truck stop to get to the restroom. So you're going to see all that stuff. I would literally have to like turn my head and look at something else. Typically it's like the electronics and stuff like that. And I would look at that as I'm walking down the hallway to the restroom.
You got to find something else to pay attention to versus going down those aisles.
Exactly. Or have somebody on the phone, talk to them, get into a conversation. Put your mind somewhere else where you're not seeing that and thinking it. You're in a conversation. You're distracting yourself from looking at all the junk. And it is a process. It's just like when you're an addict of anything, you remain an addict of whatever it is. It depends on you on how long you stay sober. So people who have alcohol and drug addiction can see that as derogatory. Like, you're not addicted to sugar. Kind of like stolen valor with the military. Oh, you're taken away from us by doing that. You know, it's bad. Well, when you learn about how the brain reacts to these chemicals and the sugar addiction and everything else, it's the exact same addiction process chemically within the body. And if you're a sugar carb addict, you're going to be a sugar carb addict for the rest of your life. It just depends on how long you really try to keep that sobriety up. And that's something that I learned that I'm going to have to deal with for the rest of my life.
For sure. It's kind of an interesting approach, but like you said, it keeps building into what you can do to help somebody. And
Exactly.
so is diet and choice of food and portion size and all that your primary, or do you couple that with fitness or any type of health journey, which is a great workout on its own?
Oh God, that's another big reason why I wanted to go flatbed. Just for getting out of the seat. I'm not getting out of the seat to go open up a door and then put the box on a dock. Having that physical activity, it means so much. As far as the aspects on what I cover, portion size is a myth. I eat as much as I want till I'm Thanksgiving dinner stuffed. So I eat as much as I want. I don't count calories. I don't count macros. I used to, but when I saw my results by the way that I was eating, it went against everything that's taught. So I was just like, I'm going to stop doing this. For one, it's very monotonous. And two, I just want to eat. So that's what I tell everybody else. Like, it doesn't matter the amount of calories, because a calorie is a calorie violates the second law of thermodynamics. We are not combustion engines, which is what that law dictates, because it has to be in a closed vacuum system. We are a hormonal response system. So whatever we consume gets broken down into their most basic molecules, and that sends a hormonal response within the brain once it gets through the gut and crosses into the bloodstream. So whatever that hormonal response is, that's going to be how your body reacts. So if you have a lot of sugar, carbs, starches, stuff like that, that's going to spike insulin. You cannot store fat without insulin. Insulin is the master fat storing hormone. So you cut the carbs out, your insulin stays at baseline, as well as your blood glucose levels, and you don't have to really worry about anything like that. Have you ever heard of anybody saying, if you don't have enough protein, you're going to go for carbs, and if you don't have enough carbs, then you got to replace it with proteins?
To get one or the other, you crave the other side of it? Is that what you mean, or what? Tell me more.
Pretty much. So basically, if you're not eating enough protein, you're going to have carbohydrate cravings. You're going to go for either one or the or. So I tell people to focus on fat, because you get vitamin D synthesized from sunlight, from cholesterol, which is in fat. You get all your sex hormones that come from fat. Every cell in your body is encased in saturated fat, so you got to have that too. Your liver produces up to about 80% of the cholesterol in your body, so that requires a 20% consumption percentage just from dietary intake. So then your next choice goes to, protein or carbohydrates. So if you don't have enough protein, you're going to crave carbs, and then you're going to have carbs with your fat, and then you've got perfect simulation for atherosclerosis. So I tell people you need to get your body into a ketogenic state. You need to keep your baseline glucose levels at that baseline as much as possible. If somebody wants to take a ketogenic approach, no more than 50 grams of any kind of glucose, which is starch, carbohydrates, or sugar. Ideally, no more than 20. But replace those carbs with protein. Your DNA is made out of protein. You keep muscle on your body by consuming protein. And there's so many other aspects to actually incorporating protein into somebody's diet as well. But the fat is what you get your energy from. The protein is what your body keeps its foundation with. You don't need the carbohydrates, especially out here in a sedentary lifestyle. And that's going to make you crave more and more and more of that because you're not getting clean flour or anything like that to make a home cooked meal in a truck. You're going to eat truck stop junk food that is going to make you want more and more and more of it, which is how I ended up being, 300 plus pounds.
Your choice of fat. So when you're talking about the ketogenic, so you eat just meat and you eat until you're full, but how do you kind of balance how much fat you're taking in?
So all of my fats are saturated animal fats, whether it's from lamb, beef, even ground beef, all that fat's emulsified in the beef. I eat a lot of bacon. Eggs are very high in saturated fat. So pretty much I just stick with animal-based fats. Even butter and cheese. I'll eat a stick of butter by itself.
Are you continually losing weight or are you at a baseline right now?
Once I reached about 150, 160, I pretty much reached my baseline with my weight. There's a term for it that's escaping me right now. But anyway, I pretty much reached where my body was in and of itself happy in a homeostasis state. So if you need to lose weight, your body will take it off. Or if it needs to put on weight, it'll put it on. And you don't have to change your ketogenic lifestyle at all. I am now currently in a state of losing weight because I intentionally took myself off of my carnivore, went back to the old way of eating for truck drivers. I was eating all the junk and everything else, but I did that because a company reached out to me to try a product, it was a continuous ketone monitor. As far as I know, it's the only one on the market. So they reached out to me. I took myself out of ketosis, went back to eating junk for a little while because I wanted to put myself back into a standard state. So I got the product, put it on. It goes on just like a continuous glucose monitor. And I wanted to see the progress of how the ketone production starts from the liver when somebody's in a standard state versus going into a ketosis state. So I gained like 30 pounds and I did it really fast.
Just a little change, standard diet versus the carnivore, and it went up that much?
Yeah, in like about a month. So I am now back on carnivore and I'm losing weight. I'm losing the inflammation that little experiment caused. Dude, my sleep was horrible. My body ached. My clothes didn't fit anymore. I was getting fat again.
Tell us about the results from the glucose monitor.
So it's a ketone monitor, which levels the level of ketones that your liver is producing. It was really good results. I did learn that the more active I was, the higher the ketones were, because the ketones are made from fat in the liver, and those become your new energy source that replaces glucose in the cells. And the more active I was, tarping a load, or just being outside doing an exercise, the ketones shot up. And the more sedentary I was, the ketones were down, which also can play a role into therapeutic ketosis if you've got cancer, Alzheimer's, dementia, diabetes, anything like that. So the results were really, really fascinating. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be very well placed in the flatbed part of trucking for the simple fact that it's held on by a sticky pad, and the amount of sweating that you can do, especially in the summer months. I mean, I did like 2 or 3 loads and it just fell off after like a week, and it lasts for like 2 weeks. So unfortunately, it was really great. I also compared it to another monitor that you do the finger prick test like a diabetic does. And I compared the results between the two. So it was very on point. And it was really nice to see the graph of how everything went up and down. And you got to actually see what was causing more ketones to go in your body. Unfortunately, being a flatbed driver, it just doesn't stick very well. So I'm going to stick with the finger prick test.
Well, you get the experiment for your recommendations. It validates what you're working through and towards. So it's just theory for you. And so can you tell us, I know you said eggs and meat, what is your meal going to look like? Are you breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Or is it only once a day, or how do you work that?
In a day, so I typically eat a lot of steak. My favorite thing to eat is hamburger patties. But on a typical day, I don't typically eat breakfast. If I do, I'm going to have like a beef stick. I love the Proven Proteins beef sticks. I'm also an affiliate for them, so full disclosure there. But I've got bukus amounts of beef sticks in my truck. If I really need something in the morning, I'll have some of those. Typically, I like to drive 6 to 7 hours before I do my 30. That's when I really eat. So that can be anywhere from a steak to even just eggs. Really just depends on what I'm able to reach up and grab. I'll just throw it in the fridge to thaw out. Like right now, when I do my 30 later today, I'm going to have lamb chops and I might have some cheese with it, and that's like it. So it really just depends on what I can reach. At the end of the day, when I get done driving, I might have something else that's a little lighter. It might be more beef sticks or whatever. It just really depends on how hungry I am. But since I'm coming back into a ketogenic state, I am more hungry than when I have been in ketosis for a long period of time. Your hunger really gets under control. So I can eat once a day and be good all day, even with, tarping a load or whatever. Or there might be days where I'm just like, I feel like I could have another meal. So I listen to my body. If I'm hungry, I eat. If I'm not, I don't.
I think that's the hardest part when you think of snacks and somebody's trying to lean out or get healthier. Once you start to learn to limit things and you're okay with only eating a certain amount, like your mind always tells you like you need to eat more, you need to eat more, you need to eat more. And then when people are eating junk food and they keep eating more, and it just keeps like building habits that are, oh no, I skipped breakfast, or oh no, I skipped a snack.
Porn plays a big role in that too.
For sure, especially if it's sitting in the cup holder next to you or in a couple bags right there.
So I tell people, look, I get it. I'm a truck driver too. Sometimes you just want something to snack on. If you want a snack, have a snack, but make sure it's something that is going to progress on your journey. Like the Proven Proteins beef sticks, they're clean. They've got all the right ingredients. There's no junk. It's fermented beef sticks. They're grass-fed, grass-finished. All that meat comes from small family farms in conjunction with each other. Those aren't going to hurt you. The chomp sticks, the taco one's my favorite. There's a lot of snack options out there. Unfortunately, you're not going to find them in the truck stops. Sometimes you'll find the chomp sticks in there, which are good options. Sometimes you might find eggs in there that are already hard boiled. That's about it. So preparation, when you take home time, I tell drivers, when is your next home time? Okay, well, check these sources out right here, see what you like. You can have these as snacks. Eat them when you want to. Don't worry about anything else. If you feel like you just really need to get something to get you by, eat it. But what you eat, it's not going to stall your progress. Because eventually you'll end up like I am, where I've got all these snacks in my truck and I'm not even eating them anymore.
I've learned a lot just in the conversation. So if people want to get to the next level and actually get with you for a coach session, just maybe an intro or however, what's the best way to connect?
So the best way to connect with me directly is probably through social media or going to my website. I am the highway health coach on everything. TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. My website is also thehighwayhealthcoach.com. People can send me a message on social media, or they can go to my website and fill out an onboarding form. When I get that form, I look over all the questions that I've asked that you've answered, and I will shoot whoever sent that to me an email. So check your spam folders. That it has a Calendly link in it. So that person can schedule a one-on-one session with me. And that is an onboarding session where we talk about the answers in the onboarding form, what your goals are, any kind of hurdles that you have, just to make sure that we're a good fit with each other. And if the client agrees, yeah, let's do this, contracts are signed, payments are made, and we go full force into it.
Okay. And we'll definitely put the links to your website in the show notes here on the podcast. And I think it's important that people just even take that first step and just have the conversation with you if they have questions. And then the Voxer, you can connect all the time and send videos and chat and many ways to offer nutrition guidance and maybe hold them accountable.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing, is having somebody to hold you accountable. I did all of this on my own, but I had finally reached a point where I was done and needed to change. So I held myself accountable. But for a lot of people, they just need somebody to hold them accountable, which isn't really my job as a coach. My job is to make sure you are being held accountable to yourself. But having that person in your corner who understands, especially the trucking lifestyle aspect of it, you're not going to find another coach in any other facility that can level with you, because they don't know how trucking is. My turning point came, I didn't think I was going to make it to 30 years old. I really didn't. So I literally thought I was going to die in a truck. So I literally made the decision. I'm changing. I'm going to get healthy. I literally read nutritional and medical journals for fun. I'm a big nerd with it.
In this industry, there's so many opportunities. Sometimes it's taking that first step and just saying, hey, now is the time for me. People honestly know what to do to get healthier, but sometimes they just need to do that commitment. Even like you said, signing on the dotted line and signing up for a program helps them take that next step and they hold themselves accountable. And then when you're layering in advice or education or even how to and where to buy certain products and building a community of drivers that just want to get healthier, because in the trucking industry, it's not just about living longer and living healthier. You're also more effective in your day-to-day job. And when you're more effective and you feel better, you make more money. There's nothing but wins when you get healthier and you take care of yourself. And so it's more than just like let's lose weight. It's more of let's build you to be the best version of yourself. And then you're going to take away the most.
Yeah, it's been a night and day difference for me from versus how I used to be to how I am now. People start this because they want to lose weight. That's always everybody's first goal. And then when they lose the weight, they're like, wow, this is feeling better. That's feeling better. Sometimes in some cases, you might lose the weight and then there's another issue that pops up because you couldn't tell that that was an issue because of all the weight. So it's a journey for everybody, and everybody's journey is individualized. So I like to tell truck drivers, you're the truck, I'm the GPS. You can get there, but your GPS or your Atlas or however old school you are, that guide is what helps you get there. And that's what I am. I'm the GPS. I'm the guide. I help you navigate this ever turning world of health. I read the science. I've lived it. I've done it. So that's what I preach. I help people navigate to whatever goal they have in their health journey.
Guys, please check out Brandon's website. Check out the Highway Health Coach. Call him, connect with him. He's a Kivi Brothers employee. And Brandon, thanks for taking the time today. I know you're in the truck right now. Thanks for taking the time to jump on.
Absolutely, man. I really appreciate you having me on. It's been fun. I am more than willing to come back and have more in-depth discussion. You just let me know when you're ready.
For sure. Thanks for listening to Keep Trucking Personal. Stay safe out there.
Appreciate you tuning in. If you got value out of this, subscribe and send it to someone who takes pride in the job. We're not just moving freight, we're shaping the culture. Catch you on the next one.